WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Welcome into First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. This is our all-weather streaming show that airs exclusively on streaming platforms from 6:30 to 7 every weeknight. So wherever you're joining us from this evening, I hope you've been enjoying this beautiful weather here in Central Alabama. If you're not in Central Alabama, well, that's a shame because it's been pretty nice for today with 70s and sunshine. But we are tracking our next big thing. So let's get to those weather headlines as we look ahead to the next 24 hours or so. So we have storms coming in, likely arriving by Friday night, tomorrow night at 10 p.m. in northwest Alabama, and then any storm threat coming to an end by 7 a.m. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see that storm threat in even earlier than 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is really just the window for when we expect any rain to be out of Alabama, but I think storms will be much weaker by that time. And the greatest risk for seeing severe storms tomorrow is going to be in that far northwest corner of Alabama tomorrow night. So these storms, as they come in, will likely have some strong wind gusts associated with them, but also an isolated tornado will be possible, especially areas to the northwest. And even as we get into next week, it still looks like an active, warm, stormy pattern in place. So we'll certainly be watching things for you in the days ahead. In the meantime, tonight, as we look at First Alert AccuTrack, pretty mild out there. A very beautiful day. We don't have any rain around, just temperatures comfortably in the 70s. And as we go into tonight, even though we've got clear skies right now, we're likely going to be seeing more clouds coming in. Now, here in Central Alabama, all quiet, but if we zoom out the big picture here, there's that next big thing, the storm system headed our way tomorrow, and it's bringing some rain and thunder as of right now to areas across parts of Oklahoma, now beginning to approach Kansas and Missouri and into Arkansas. But that main chance for seeing severe weather for us won't be until tomorrow night. This is really a run-of-the-mill spring severe weather event. You're just going to get storms that come through sometimes that can be a little bit more robust. So we're not expecting major issues here. Now, across parts of the Mid-South and into the Midwest tomorrow, that certainly will be possible. But I think our main factor that we're going to have to watch is the far northwest corner of Alabama for some strong wind gusts and potentially isolated tornadoes tomorrow night. But for now, storms are moving across Interstate 40 and headed towards Fayetteville, moving through Fort Smith and getting a little closer to Springfield, Missouri here within the next hour or so. But in the meantime, before any rain arrives, now remember, we could still see some scattered showers at times tomorrow. Notice that First Alert sneeze meter. Yeah, if you're like me, been feeling that little itch in your throat, nose has been burning a little bit. That pollen is certainly a nuisance right now, especially the tree pollen. So we may see a brief reprieve on Saturday just because of the rain we have coming through Friday night. But I think those pollen levels generally are still going to be staying pretty high as we get into the weekend and into next week, even next week with that potential for an active pattern. But as far as the rest of Weather Extra tonight, we have a lot of cool stories to show you, and of course going to be talking more about that severe weather threat. So coming up, we will have the possibility of looking into more of these storms that we're going to be seeing going into the weekend. And we do have an update on the Atlantic hurricane season. Some names got retired and some new names are on the list. And of course, we always like to take you not just beyond the 7-day, but beyond Earth's atmosphere. We've got some news from outer space, and also, boy was unfortunately attacked by a shark. First Alert Weather Extra. We'll be right back.
We know weather can be grab the umbrella or jogging shoes, but it's so much more. It's a science, an art, led by knowledge and experience.
And no one has more of that than a WBRC First Alert weather team.
Warning you first with more hours committed to you. And the first forecast built to see weeks, days, and even minutes ahead, right down to where you live. From the team you trust on your favorite screen.
Doing the weather better. The WBRC First Alert weather team, always on your side.
Some people may think you're overreacting. Some may ask, is there a storm coming? That's okay, because knowing the first alert has helped you beat the rush. Being prepared puts you in control and changes the what if to you're okay. Knowing first is everything. First Alert Weather.
plans for this weekend. We have a first alert for a wintry mix.
When you need to know next week, tomorrow, or even right now, the WBRC First Alert Weather Team is always on your side, whenever and wherever you need us. This is why we First Alert.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. It has been 6 months since Hurricane Ian made landfall in South Florida, and that was specifically in Fort Myers, Florida, Southwest Florida. One man survived the devastating cyclone inside, get this, his refrigerator. Gage Goulding has his story.
I almost left my life there. It's just scary.
It's a thought that keeps George Andred up at night.
I still get some nightmares.
Hurricane Ian releasing hellish conditions on his home, forcing seawater in through the second story and giving George no other option.
That's the only thing I have near me. I say, this thing might float, so I guess I gotta get into it.
It's only appropriate that a refrigerator would end up saving this sous chef's life. And it was the most important thing in his home that day.
Hey, and it worked out for me, so I'm glad it did.
Speaking of that home, this is what it looks like now. It's gone, along with every single one of George's belongings. All that's left here is sand.
A few weeks ago, they demoed the whole thing out. Actually, it feels better when I go by there. It was like nightmare.
In the months that have passed, George is slowly getting back on his feet. He's back to work at the new Fresh Catch Bistro.
Bit of bread for dinner.
Just like his home, the old restaurant was destroyed by Ian. While things are getting better, normal or even a new normal aren't words he uses.
Not really. Not me and myself, personally. I'm still a little messed up. If I can get my house like I had my own life that I had before, it was awesome, you know. But it was never gonna happen. But I hope so. I always have faith.
It's that very faith that helped George get to the 6-month mark after the storm. And it's what keeps him pushing forward each and every day. Because as the sun sets, this island is a little bit better than the day before.
Don't take granted what we have. You know, what you got, we had, because you never know when it could be the end of the day, man.
Reporting local on Fort Myers Beach, Gage Goulding, NBC2.
And Hurricane Ian killed more than 100 people when it moved through Florida.
And as we remember Hurricane Ian, we can't forget about Hurricane Fiona. Hurricane Fiona made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane in southwestern Puerto Rico, bringing widespread flooding and causing the whole island to lose power. Estimated cost and damage is around $3 billion. And Hurricane Ian made landfall as a powerful Category 4 hurricane in southwestern Florida, leaving a path of destruction. Estimated cost of damage from that is around $112 billion. A team at the World Meteorological Society met together and decided to retire the two names due to the amount of damage and destruction caused by these two storms. Fiona is being replaced with Farah, and Ian is being replaced with Idris. The World Meteorological Society and the National Hurricane Center says they are already beginning preparations for the 2023 hurricane season, which is only about 63 days away. And wildfires are not foreign in the West, like California, and many residents and firefighters see fire retardants as necessary to keep wildfires at bay. The problem is there are pollutants. Well, they are pollutants, and the Forestry Service does not have the necessary permit to use them. Now a measure is making its way through Congress that would exempt firefighting agencies from needing that permit. Muna has the details.
Lawmakers in Washington are coming to the defense of the U.S. Forest Service, this on the heels of a lawsuit that aims to ban them from using aerial fire retardant. The lawsuit says that under the Clean Water Act, it's illegal to drop pollutants into U.S. waters without a permit. Plaintiffs cite environmental concerns. The town of Paradise, Butte County, and the California Forestry Association have filed a motion to intervene.
The Forest Service would lose one of the primary tactics that it has as a tool for wildfire suppression. And in today's world, when we're burning millions upon millions of acres and are facing the most tragic fires in state history in the recent past, we can't allow that tool to be lost at this point, knowing going into the future that we have the same losses on the horizon.
Lawmakers held a hearing on the bill last week in Washington. Under the measure, firefighters would be exempt from having to secure permits so they can continue to use those aerial fire retardants. The bill has bipartisan support.
And the lawsuit against using the fire retardants claims the Forest Service has dropped more than 760,000 gallons of it. The plaintiffs say that impacts waterways and the wildlife that live in them. And not so much in the way of weather, but we do want to share this story out of Hawaii that's bringing outrage in the ocean. This is after video surfaces showing aquatic animals fleeing from unwanted attention. Patrick Cornell has the story.
A large group of swimmers in hot water for swarming a pod of protected spinner dolphins. Hawaii's Department of Land and Natural Resources released this video showing 33 people, quote, aggressively pursuing and harassing the animals. Under federal law, it's illegal to swim within 50 yards of the mammals to keep tourists from disrupting the nocturnal dolphins who rest during the daytime. Conservation officers met with the potential perpetrators back on land, and the case is under review.
Well, let's head to Colorado, where a boy is recovering after being bitten by a shark while on his family vacation. We have the report.
We were in Cancun, Mexico.
The Armijo family was enjoying a fun spring break vacation in Cancun earlier this month.
We wanted to go play in the beach.
He and his brother were down in the water, just like knee-deep water, splashing in the waves.
That's when the unexpected happened.
We wanted to swim or jump in waves, and then 5 minutes after that, shark just came into a wave.
He screamed, but it wasn't until the wave went down that I could see his leg.
A shark bit his leg.
In that wave, it just grabbed me, just took away all my skin.
Luckily, there was a man sitting up on the chairs that heard him scream and then me scream. And so between that man and eventually a lifeguard and then his big brother, they were able to get him out of the water.
And how bad were the injuries?
They're pretty extensive.
Dylan spent a few days in the hospital in Mexico, then had to be airlifted back to Colorado.
That was what has given him such a great outcome, is being back here at home with some fantastic doctors.
Dylan has had to undergo several surgeries here at Children's Hospital. He is expected to go home soon, but has a long road of physical therapy ahead of him.
He's had 4 surgeries, but he will be able to walk again.
The family says the community has made a difficult situation a little easier.
We've had a lot of support since we got back home. It's nice to know that there's so many people here to help us out.
It's that support keeping Dylan strong.
He's done fantastic considering all that he's been through.
Meanwhile, in Minnesota, it's peak hatching season for bald eagles up closer to the Great Lakes. Kirsten Mitchell spoke to wildlife experts on how to keep these birds of prey soaring.
This was the moment eagle-eyed fans had been waiting for.
Lots of people from all over the world are watching it.
The egg in the Minnesota DNR Eagle Cam hatched on Sunday.
It is exciting, and it's harrowing because so many things can happen.
Lori Nauman runs the Eagle Cam.
This particular female on our Eagle Cam laid 2 eggs this year, and unfortunately she might have slipped and punctured one of the eggs early on.
But this increased the chance of survival for the eaglet, which is just 50% from hatching to flying from the nest in July.
There's sibling rivalry. If there's any sort of food scarcity, they start beating each other up. It can get pretty brutal.
Lori says our snowy winter hasn't hurt the eagle population.
They're adapted, they're acclimated to this kind of weather, and they do really well.
Their resiliency captured in February as a nesting mother was covered to her head in snow.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Dean Schaubold has watched the Eagle Cam when he's not watching the wildlife from his home.
Oh yeah, got binoculars.
On White Bear Lake.
We see a bald eagle every once in a while. They're our national bird. That's really nice.
The DNR says we can help keep the bald eagle population soaring by avoiding rodent poison and lead ammunition.
We've had bald eagles run into the sides of buildings, and it's usually because they have neurological damage from some sort of a toxin.
For this little one, everything so far is looking up.
We're doing pretty well, and if it makes it to fledging, all the better.
Oh, we'll do anything to help those cute babies out. Coming up next on Weather Extra, we are going to help you out talking more about that potential for strong storms tomorrow night. And meteorologist Tania Michelle and I will also look at some cool video coming from outer space. We'll be right back.
Does your bathtub look like this? Are you constantly cleaning your shower, but the stains and discoloration just won't go away? Or maybe you're just hoping to freshen up your bathroom with something new and modern. If this is you, you may be planning on attending one of the local home shows. Well, stay tuned. Today I'm joined by Kirsten with a special announcement that's going to make the whole project easier and more affordable. Kirsten.
So Joe, we know that people are busier than ever right now. The last thing they want to do is spend hours of time on the weekend fighting traffic and all the long lines at the home shows. Well, to save time, folks should give us a call right now and get this limited time offer. We're taking 20% off all shower and bath projects, and we're offering some amazing financing. It's 12 months of no payments and no interest. That means you don't need to pay a penny on your project until an entire year after your installation is complete.
So you're saying if I start my project now, I don't have to put any money down, I get 20% off the entire project, and you're offering no payments, no interest financing for a full year. That's pretty incredible.
It really is. We understand that most people have a long list of renovations that they want to do around the house, so we're making it easier than ever to knock out that shower project right now.
That's fantastic. Well, Kirsten, how else are you making this whole project easy?
So Joe, people's biggest fear when doing a project like this is picking out something they're not going to be happy with. Well, we eliminate that fear by bringing the home show to you. When you give us a call, we'll send one of our shower and bath experts out for a free in-home design consultation. They'll bring an iPad and a sample kit to let you design the shower or bath of your dreams. Before the appointment is over, you'll see what the new shower will look like, eliminating all of the guesswork out of the project.
Kirsten, thanks. Folks, call the number on your screen right now to speak with a West Shore Home representative and to receive this limited time offer. Call in now to get 20% off your shower or bath project. Plus, they're doing 12 months of no payments and no interest financing. That means you don't need to make your first payment until 12 months after your installation is complete. Call West Shore Home now.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. We are tracking that possibility of some strong to severe storms tomorrow night. I'm not expecting this to be an outbreak. I know a lot of us have storm fatigue from how active this year has already been, but we just want to make sure you do have that first alert and you're in the know about what is going on tomorrow night. So this is highlighting that orange area, level 3 out of 5 risk, and that's the one that gets into far northwest Alabama, but you'll notice also areas around Memphis and north of St. Louis into parts of eastern Iowa and northwest Illinois. That's where that potential exists for a level 4 out of 5 moderate risk. So let's zoom in here closer to our neck of the woods. I still think the worst of the storms will be to the northwest of us, but even in the far northwest corner of Alabama, that's where we have that higher likelihood of seeing some storms develop that could produce damaging wind gusts and some isolated tornadoes and large hail, likely after 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And then as these storms progress south and eastward, they will gradually weaken. Now, that's not to say if you're in the level 1 out of 5 or level 2 out of 5 risk area that you couldn't see some strong storms. That's a possibility, but I think the greater risk where the ingredients are going to line up for a higher likelihood of a severe risk will be in far northwest Alabama. So that does include places in our area like Marion, Winston, parts of Coleman, into parts of Walker, Fayette County, Lamar County. So in those spots, don't want to totally rule out the development of some strong to severe thunderstorms as this line comes in tomorrow night. Now, tomorrow morning before you walk out the door, it's not going to be a bad idea to have the umbrella. Tomorrow's not going to be a washout by any means. Most of the rain is going to hold off until we get into the evening, but we will see some widely scattered showers and storms at times tomorrow. Here's some of that high resolution model data suggesting a couple of showers will be possible in the morning, especially north of I-20, and then just off and on scattered showers throughout the day. A lot of us will end up staying dry. One thing to note tomorrow is that even outside of any storms, winds are going to begin to pick up as that southerly flow kicks in out of the south with winds at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Gusts could be higher than that. So we'll see if anything in the way of a wind advisory gets issued for Friday into Saturday. But here we are 11 p.m. So if you got any plans early in the night Friday evening, should be fine. But by 11 p.m., here are the storms coming into northwest Alabama cluster here that could have those individual discrete thunderstorms known as supercells, rotating thunderstorms that have the ability to produce large hail or a tornado, which is why we want to watch closely along this I-22 corridor. And then as we get closer to midnight, those storms begin to slowly make their way to the southeast, kind of like we saw last week. If we see these storms begin to slow down a little bit, we'll want to watch for any type of localized flooding threat. But These storms will keep on moving to the south and east overnight. Here we are at 5 a.m. showing the main leading edge of that line already southeast of I-2059. If you live in Ashland, Talladega, Clanton, Marion, Greensboro, could see those storms coming in after 3 a.m. And then here we are at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Already moved out of here. Storms now down into southeast Alabama and into parts of southwest Georgia. There's still likely going to be some clouds around for tomorrow, but I'm not expecting much in the way of anything concerning for Saturday in terms of severe weather once we get past 7 a.m. Now, as we look at the rest of the weekend, really most of Saturday is going to be a pretty nice day with some sunshine in the forecast and then plenty of sunshine around on Sunday, just some passing clouds. Now, this is all due to a storm system coming through. That storm system does have a cold front associated with it. So by Sunday morning, we'll actually go from the 60s Saturday morning to about a 20-degree drop with temperatures falling into the 40s for Sunday. So a chilly start if you're doing anything early on your Sunday. I do think for most of Sunday there will be some sunshine, just some passing clouds in the mix. But notice as far as that high temperature Sunday afternoon, we're talking maybe a lot of spots even struggling to hit 70 degrees across northwest Alabama. But looking ahead to next week, this is what I want you to pay attention to. The weather looks pretty unsettled, and I will say there's a lot of uncertainty in how this forecast is going to pan out. We're talking Monday through Thursday, the possibility of scattered showers and storms at times. We're going to keep a close eye on the potential for any severe threat. Yesterday, if you were watching, we highlighted, hey, next Tuesday, I want to go ahead and give you a first alert for a possibility of a severe weather setup. Right now, it doesn't look like a guarantee, though. Some models have been suggesting that we're going to be more so on the dry side. So this is still several days out. Got to fine tune in the days ahead. What I will note is that looks fairly warm. I mean, we could see temperatures surging into the 80s by next Tuesday and Wednesday, and just generally the rain coverage looking pretty decent next week as we see this active pattern stick around for us here in central Alabama. So I'd say if I were looking at those days, the weekend honestly looks the best once we get past Saturday morning. So not too shabby here in central Alabama and on Earth right now, but we bring in now meteorologist Tania Michelle. Tania, what's going on in outer space?
Lauren, a whole lot, because NASA is studying one of the most powerful classes of explosions in the universe. This particular one is being called the BOAT, which means brightest of all time. Tuesday, the space agency announced it clocked a gamma ray burst back in October of last year that was unlike any other. Scientists say the pulse of intense radiation was so exceptional that it blinded most of the gamma ray instruments in space. They believe a gamma ray blast like this one is so rare it only happens once in every 10,000 years. It triggered numerous detectors on spacecraft and observatories around the globe. On the International Space Station and even Voyager 1 in interstellar space. Astronomers believe gamma ray bursts come from the formation of black holes. NASA's James Webb and Hubble Space Telescopes search for the supernova that usually follows long bursts, but they believe the entire star was swallowed up by the black hole instead of exploding. Oh my gosh, that was a lot. Talk about a gap year though. Frank Rubio is set to break the record of longest mission conducted by the NASA, the U.S. astronaut. Rubio traveled to the International Space Station on September 21st. He was supposed to come home this spring, but the spacecraft he arrived on sprang a leak in its coolant tank in December. So he'll have to wait until a Russian spacecraft returns to Earth. That's currently scheduled for September 27th, which means Rubio will have spent at least 371 days in orbit. That's crazy. The current record was set last year by Mark Vande Hei with 355 days. And of course, that's only for astronauts. Russian, I can't say his name, we're gonna just pass by that, but he holds the world record with 437 days abroad in 1994 and 1995. Congrats to them, that's awesome.
Well, Tania, back here on Earth, a wild bear that seemed underweight a year ago has given birth to 2 cubs. The discovery was a welcome surprise to researchers in Minnesota's Northwoods. Aaron Haas, Tania, we're having a rough time with these names today. So a reporter named Aaron reports.
Last March,
all right, 600 feet.
Inside the Chippewa National Forest, we found bear 6080.
So she's definitely laying on her left side.
Hibernating.
What do you think of her weight?
Very small.
She seemed to be underweight. She also didn't have any cubs, a surprise to researchers.
It's actually pretty rare, but we had a really bad food year last year, one of the worst we've had since we started recording in the 80s.
We checked in with researcher Andrew Try.
Den work's all pretty much wrapped up, so that's a nice feeling.
This year, Bear 6080 welcomed 2 cubs into the world.
That was an exciting thing.
How is she doing?
Perfectly healthy as far as we can tell, and looking fine. She's a lowland bear. She likes to stick to the swamps and not hit hunters' baits, so she's always on the lighter side.
What did you find out there this year?
If you were a bear, it was a great year to be a bear, munching on berries all summer, and then acorns and hazelnuts in the fall. 2022 was a great year, one of the best food years that we've had on record since we started tracking these things back in the 80s.
Try says all the bears who were expected to have cubs had them. Our thick blanket of snow insulated dens. Though our February warm-up posed a challenge for one bear.
It certainly did get a little flooded out in her den, and so she just moved about 500 yards away into a brush pile in a wetland and is hibernating the rest of her winter there.
And as far as where you'll find Minnesota black bears,
the north end of the Twin Cities, and even to some extent the eastern edge of the Twin Cities, and we had some bear reports out in Eden Prairie as well, kind of by Purgatory Creek. And so that's becoming kind of secondary bear range now. Bear sightings are more common.
So there is something we can all do as the weather warms up to coexist.
So it's incumbent on folks to start thinking about pulling their bird feeders in once about tax day or so comes, and making sure their trash is secured so bears can be bears and they don't get in trouble with folks.
Erin Hassanzadeh, WCCO 4 News.
So looking at your forecast, one final look before we head off into your Thursday evening. That chance for rain tomorrow. Notice we have a 40% chance of some showers and storms. Going to mainly be widely scattered. I think most of us are going to hold off on really much in the way of stormy weather until 10 p.m. tomorrow night. But don't be surprised to see a few showers around earlier in the day. And then Saturday, that rain chance is really just accounting for the early morning hours. For the rest of the day, pretty nice and looking good on Sunday as well. But still warm and active going into next week. Really looks like our coolest day could be Sunday with temperatures falling into the 40s. But we'll take a further look at that forecast tonight on First at 9. And you can join us here on Weather Extra again tomorrow night at 6:30. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Have a safe and happy Thursday evening.